Good evening. This time, if you'd please silence your cell phones and be advised these proceedings are being recorded. If you desire to address the City Council during the meeting, please complete a request to speak form available at the front entrance and present it to the City Clerk, or identify yourself to the City Clerk if you've come in via Zoom or telephone. Speakers will be called upon at the appropriate time, and each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. And at this time, City Clerk will make a Zoom broadcasting announcement. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As of June 15th, the City of Grand Terrace reopened its public meetings. Therefore, tonight's meeting of November 10th is open to the public. Please be advised that face masks are required, social distancing will be practiced, and occupancy limits will be enforced. Additionally, pursuant to Section 3 of Executive Order N2920 issued by Governor Newsom, tonight's meeting will also be conducted telephonically through Zoom and broadcast live on the city's website and Channel 3. If you would like to participate telephonically and speak on an agenda item, you can access the meeting by dialing *67-1669-900-9128, enter meeting ID number 831-7638-9120, and enter password 155593. You will be placed in the waiting room muted until it is your turn to speak. You may also submit your comments by sending them to ccpubliccomment@grandterrace-ca.gov. The City of Grand Terrace thanks you for taking all precautions to prevent spreading the COVID-19 virus.
Thank you. So at this time, I will call to order the regular meeting of November 10th, 2020 for the City of Grand Terrace. Councilmember Hussey, in honor of the Marine's 245th birthday, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Madam City Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Hussey.
Present.
Councilmember Robles. Present. Mayor Pro Tem Wilson.
I am here.
Mayor McNaboe.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We have no special presentations tonight. Do we have any reordering of, additions to, or removal of items from the agenda for tonight's meeting?
We do not, Madam Mayor. Oh, excuse me.
Madam City Clerk?
Yes, I have. I'll be pulling the consent calendar minutes off of this meeting due to technical difficulties that we had with the PowerPoint presentations that were hyperlinked.
Okay, so those are coming off and they'll come back to us at another meeting?
December 8th meeting.
All right. Thank you. So then, following that, we will move to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by City Council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizen may request removal of an item on the consent calendar. Beyond item number 2, are there any other requests to have an item removed? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the balance of the consent calendar.
Move for the balance.
Okay,
Second.
so I have a motion by Council Member Robles, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Please vote.
Madam Mayor, Madam City Clerk, before we vote, I will read the title of the ordinance.
Absolutely. You know, I was all ready for that, and then I got too excited about having things removed and all that. So before we vote on the consent calendar, our city attorney will read the ordinance by title for item number 5.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The title of the ordinance is as follows: an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, adding Chapter 3.26 to Title 3 of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code and amending Section 3.24060 of Chapter 3.24 of Title 3 of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code, which establish procurement procedures for public projects pursuant to the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act and for maintenance work. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Madam City Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Councilmember Allen.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey.
Yes.
Councilmember Robles. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor McNaboe.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. So at this time, we'll have public comment. Are there any requests to speak during this time?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, so I'll close public comment. We have no public hearings. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Item number 6 on your agenda, assignment of agreement for option to purchase real property located at 21893 Barton Road, Grand Terrace, presented by G. Harold Duffy, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the record, G. Harold Duffy, City Manager. So this is the assignment of the agreement to option to purchase real property located at 21893 Barton Road. This project supports the council's goal number 3, promote economic development. On July 12, 2016, the City of Grand Terrace entered into an exclusive negotiation agreement with Dr. McDuffie, owner of the Animal Emergency Clinic. Dr. McDuffie's clinic needed to relocate because of the interchange project, the Barton Road interchange project. Dr. McDuffie wanted to purchase city-owned land for his new clinic site. The land Dr. McDuffie wanted to purchase was committed to another project. So the city renegotiated the terms from the other project to allow Dr. McDuffie to purchase the land. The city also entered into a disposition and development agreement with Dr. McDuffie to have first rights to purchase land owned on his land owned on La Crosse and Barton Road. So this is sort of a view of what we're talking about here. And so this is the location of Dr. McDuffie's former animal clinic site here. And as you can see, the freeway was going to go right by there, through there. So he had to relocate. And so we had this city property here, which he wanted to purchase from us. And in doing so, we entered into a DDA so we could actually have first rights of refusal to purchase this property on La Crosse and Barton Road for exchange for the sale of this property. This is a close-up of his current location that he's at right now. And so this was the original project for the Lewis Group, and as you can see, item A was included in the Lewis project. So when Dr. McDuffie expressed interest and wanted to stay in the city, we ended up working with the Lewis Group to pull that section out of the Lewis project. And so we end up with the final area for the Lewis project, excluding that area there. So this is the location we're talking about doing the assignment for. This is Dr. McDuffie's finished site. It is on the corner of La Crosse and Barton Road. We have a developer who is interested in acquiring Dr. McDuffie's property, and he is the adjacent property owner. So this is a kind of a better picture of what that looks like. Dr. McDuffie's land, and then there's the developer's land there. So DIBA Real Estate Investment LLC would like to have the city assign the rights to purchase Dr. McDuffie's property. They agree to pay the city $25,000 deposit, which is refundable if they purchase or cannot exercise rights that are in the agreement. They also agree to move expeditiously and combine lots to maximize the use of the property. So staff's recommendation is for the council to approve assignment agreement with DIBA Real Estate Investment LLC for assignment of option to purchase real property located at 21893 Barton Road. I'm available for any questions the council might have.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Are there questions of staff at this time? All right, I have a question. The developer will develop both parcels of land if they do proceed to purchase.
That is correct.
And so as far as the city having an opportunity to know what they desire to build there, does that only come to us after we finish this agreement and then they go through to Planning Commission to determine whether that fits with what we think is best use there?
Yes, Mayor. Ultimately, what the developer is saying is that they have, once they acquire the rights to the property, they will then do a full engineering study on the site and look and call in their developers to see what fits there on the site when they combine the two together. So you're absolutely right. They would come to the staff through the planning commission for approval for their project. We would give, obviously staff would turn it into the staff, and staff would get the information. And I would update the council through my regular economic development report.
Okay, and how much money is the city going to spend on this endeavor?
The city has the right currently to purchase the property. If the city were to exercise this right, it would spend staff resources, legal fees, and so on. But by us assigning this to the developer, we will not spend any money on the site.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem has questions.
I may have missed the meeting, and if I did, I apologize. What do we know about DIBA?
Yes, so DIBA, I provided the list here. Did you happen to get that? And so it is kind of a history of what their development is. They've developed in Napa, developed in Yucaipa. They own the big center where they have big lots, Big Five. They have some property and development in Commerce Center. They have Norco Gateway Center. So there's a list of their different developments that they have.
Okay, thank you.
Is anyone here representing them tonight?
No, there is not.
Okay. Councilmember Allen?
Thanks, Mayor. If DIBA LLC is not able to execute their agreement, then does it come back to us? And if so, will it come back to us with enough time? Because I know there was a time limit we had on that agreement.
Right. So we don't have a time limit established for DIBA. So they may utilize the entire time for the project. So if, for example, if they move quickly and they get an appraisal or they were unable to get an appraisal and they just say we can't work with a solution on this project, they can say, we're not interested. Then it would come back to us. But we don't have a time limit. Say for example, if we have 9 months left, we didn't do an agreement that said you have 6 months. And one of the things that we have to consider in the process is when we establish a time limit on the conditions for someone else to negotiate, that the other party that they're negotiating with understands there's a time limit associated with that.
But are we covering our bases in case we do get it back? I mean, at some point we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot with this.
Well, and I guess, sir, that would be if the city council was willing to acquire the property and then try to have somebody else develop the property, then you're absolutely right. If our overall goal is for us to manage that, then you're absolutely right. But by signing this agreement, it is expected that a private development company with the resources will be able to acquire the property and move very quickly, faster than we could.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, and I follow that, but in a previous discussion that we had, we were talking about the time limit on this agreement that we had with Dr. McDuffie.
Yes.
And if they give this back, if they end up not being able to develop it and they come back in the last week and say, hey, it's yours, we can't use it, and we've got a week left. I mean,
Right, you're absolutely right. And I think what we have to kind of look at the scenarios that we have in place. So the adjacent property owner has spent $450,000 to acquire that property with the full intent of trying to consolidate both lots. If they are unable to reach an agreement with Dr. McDuffie, you're absolutely right, that would return to us. And then Dr. McDuffie would go on the open market and try to find somebody to acquire the property.
Okay, thanks.
So my understanding was we have the right to buy it within a year, and then after that year, we have first right of refusal. Does that go away?
I'll defer to Ann. Go ahead, Ann.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The right of first refusal wasn't actually addressed in this assignment, and they did bring it up, so I didn't offer it or put anything in there. The right of first refusal terminates at the same time that the option does if it's not exercised. So it's mid-August, if I recall, for our date that we notified them of the completion of the interchange.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that. But it doesn't, the right of first refusal does not continue.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? All right, we'll open public comment. Are there requests to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right. We'll close public comment and bring it back to council for consideration of a motion.
I
So-
move the,
I'll second it.
well, can I finish saying it?
Please, Councilmember Robles.
I move adoption of the item.
And you'll second that?
I'll still second it.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion at this point? All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Robles and a second by Councilmember Allen. Please call the vote.
Councilmember Allen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey,
Yes.
Councilmember Robles,
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor McNamara.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So imagine if Councilmember Robles actually motioned something that you weren't going to second at that point. You had a fun opportunity there. All right, so item number 7, appropriation of San Bernardino County CARES Act infrastructure funding. Mr. G. Harold Duffy, City Manager.
Okay. Is Ms. Fortune going to be presenting this? Is she?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Cynthia Fortune, Assistant City Manager.
So, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. The staff report before you is CARES Act funding for infrastructure projects. Next slide, please. So this staff report supports 2 goals: ensuring fiscal viability, specifically through appropriate cost recovery of COVID-19 related expenditures, and goal number 2, maintaining public safety by investing in critical infrastructure to maintain the health and well-being of those who come into City Hall. Next slide, please. So as council is aware, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of agencies were receiving coronavirus aid relief and economic security funds, known as CARES Act funding. Next slide, please. So in addition to counties and certain cities receiving their direct allocation from the state, San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors set aside $25 million in their allocation of coronavirus relief funds to allocate to cities and towns for infrastructure projects. So they sent out a notice for these, and funding received for these eligible projects require a 1-to-1 match from the local city or town. Now, part of that match may be the city's own CARES Act funding. As council is aware, we received our first allocation of $153,000, and then with the county's own allocation, they gave us a second $153,000 of CARES Act funding. So next slide, please. One more. So the city did submit an application, and what we submitted it for was for the improvements to the City Hall / library's HVAC system, our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. Now, we submitted our application in the amount of $267,700. Next slide, please. So we submitted this because the HVAC system was going to provide safety and improved indoor air quality as a result of the heightened risk of COVID-19 transmission specific to air pathogens. And next slide, please. It also will provide improved safety controls and equipment for a new filtration and ultraviolet light treatment for airborne disinfection and inactivating bacterial and fungal organisms. So hopefully when the air travels through all our ducts and filters, they're going to inactivate all this bacteria. Next slide, please. So on October 30th, the city did receive a notice from the county that our project had been approved and authorized us to go ahead and proceed. So next slide, please. So Resolution 2020-05, Section 5 of our local emergency authorizes the city manager to enter into contracts to arrange for the procurement of materials, goods, or services necessary to contain, respond, mitigate the effects of COVID-19. And also stated that city procurement or related policies are suspended to address the effects of COVID-19. Because Honeywell International was the company that purchased and installed the original system currently on top of City Hall, the city manager sought and received a proposal from them. So as such, based on the proposal that was received, the city manager will be executing purchase order to Honeywell for the HVAC system to the tune of $267,700. So as I mentioned earlier, it requires a one-to-one match, meaning half of that the county will cover out of their infrastructure, the other half is ours. So next slide, please. So the way we were requesting the appropriation, as you can see, that first line is the county's match. The second line is part of our $153,000 allocation that we received from the county. And the third is funding from our Development Impact Fees Facilities Fund. Since our Facilities Fund can be used to improve on infrastructure, this is what we're using to fund. So as you can see, that totals $267,700, and that will be our expenditure. Of course, it will be a purchase order to Honeywell. And because this is a grant, it is reimbursable, meaning we need to show that we've actually expensed this, paid the vendor, we've gotten our goods and materials before we can receive reimbursement, and that the county match our cost. And so this is our first request to provide these appropriations. And our second request is to, next slide, please. Request that appropriation of $60,000 from the Development Impact Fee so that we could spend it for this infrastructure project. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to make it a note to remind, for council to know that in order for staff to use its CARES Act designated funding, this project actually has to be completed prior to December 30th, 2020. That completes my report. The Planning Services Director, the City Manager, and myself will be happy to answer any questions City Council may have.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Fortune. Are there questions of staff at this time? All right, Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Robles.
Have we, thank you, Ms. Fortune, for that report. Have we put this out for bid yet?
Councilmember Allen, because of the time constraints, we were limited, and as shown in Resolution 2020-05, if it is a COVID-related project, we are allowed to skip the bidding process.
So have we have we advertised it yet?
We will not be advertising this, sir. So, and because of the time constraints, we will be going, we contacted Honeywell directly, and Honeywell has given us the quotes and made sure that we're meeting all the requirements for COVID funding.
Well, that answers, that was what I was wondering is, do we have somebody standing by ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And just to be clear, only 60 grand is coming out of our DIF, our Development Impact Fees Fund, right?
That is correct, sir.
The rest is CARES Act money, right?
The rest is CARES Act money.
Councilmember Robles.
Thank you.
Well, Windows decided to start updating and I'm letting it because, but so I can't refresh. I'm forgetting whether we have a pre-authorization that this is eligible for CARES Act.
Yes, and you can, if you want to comment, Ms. Fortune, but yes.
I'm sorry, yes. When they sent out their notice for infrastructure projects, they had said that a one-to-one match is required, plus we can use any CARES Act funding that was allocated to the local city or town.
And so, Councilperson Robles, what happened is that the Honeywell went through a process where they have certification, where they have these new filters that will be able to improve the air. But because of our old system, once you put the new thicker filters in, we can't get the quality that we need to come in.
Yeah, what I was leading up to was, we're not gonna get stuck with the bill.
Absolutely
Okay.
not. You're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. Can you unmute? Mayor Pro Tem, I need you to unmute and ask your question again.
Would you like me to unmute?
That would be wonderful. That's much better. Thank you.
I'd just like to congratulate the staff. They did a wonderful job on this. This is a 40-year-old system that we've been pasting back together, and obviously there's been a lot of improvement since then, since this thing was put together. And now we have a good reason and a good path to be able to replace the system wholesale. So hooray, way to go.
So thank you, sir. And I would be remiss if I didn't give kudos to Steve Weiss, our Planning and Development Director, and Todd Nakasaki. One of the things that I try to do is find money, but it's great when I have staff to be able to finally secure the funds.
All right. Councilmember Hussey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Duffy, a new system, is our yearly maintenance cost going to be down on this when they charge us?
Yes, sir. So as you well know, that we have a $25,000 maintenance contract. And so if you look at that contract versus what's going to happen in the beginning of the system, we can virtually almost eliminate that in the first year and then probably have a slight version in the years following. But you're absolutely right. We have a base of $25,000 just for annual maintenance, but anything else comes up, we have to add on to that. So over time, the $60,000 that we are spending today, the next 2 years, would probably be zero balance.
All right, thank you.
All right, all good. Open public comment. Are there any requests to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, we'll close public comment and bring it back for consideration of a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the revenue and expense appropriations in the amount of $267,700 respectively, includes the city's matching funds for the city's approved San Bernardino County CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Funds Infrastructure Project, which is the City Hall Library HVAC improvements and replacement, and approve the appropriations of $60,425 from the Facilities Development Impact Fees Fund to be used as part of the city's matching funds for the above-mentioned project. The above-mentioned $267,700 includes this appropriation of $60,425.
Okay.
all right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Allen and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Wilson. Any further discussion on this item? All right, please call the vote.
Councilmember Allen?
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey?
Yes.
Councilmember Robles?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor McNivel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. On to item 8, which is City Hall closure during the 2020 holidays. G. Harold Duffy, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And as the council is aware and citizens know, that when the holiday season comes, City Hall closes down for a period of time. However, but this year has really worked out very well because Christmas is on Christmas Eve on Thursday and Christmas is on Friday, and the same with New Year's Eve and New Year's. So what we do is we're recommending to the council that we close City Hall on the 24th of December and that we reopen on January the 2nd. Is that correct? Yes. And we open Thursday, January 2nd.
All right.
What was that? That says, I'm sorry.
Friday.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
fourth,
Gosh.
Monday the 4th.
Let me just go very quickly.
Monday the 4th.
Monday the 4th, I'm sorry. Yes.
All right, so one more time to clarify, we will close on the 24th, And we will open again on January 4th?
That is correct, Mayor.
Is that what I'm hearing? All right, questions of staff? All right. Mayor Pro Tem.
This isn't going to hold up any of our current projects.
No, it isn't, sir. And what we'll be doing too is that we do have staff available to prearrange for any inspections that need to occur while City Hall is closed down. And we're also, street sweeping will be suspended as of November the 19th, and because of the holidays and family visiting, and so we will start that up again in January.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, I'll open public comment. Any request to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, close public comment, and I know it's a receive and file, but our city attorney likes us to have a motion and a vote on this, so
Absolutely.
I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Motion for approval?
Second.
Okay, so motion by Mayor Pro Tem Wilson, second by Councilmember Allen. Please call the vote.
Councilmember Allen?
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey?
Yes.
Councilmember Robles?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor McNabo?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. All right, so we have requests for future agenda items by City Council. We have one such request by Councilmember Hussey to discuss options City Council may have to address the condemned building located at 22130 Barton Road, owned by Colton Joint Unified School District. Councilmember Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as you drive in our city, as we're doing improvements, you see that condemned building it's been condemned for a while. I'd just like to have staff, direct staff to work with the Colton Joint Unified School District to see what we could do for that building, either fix it up or they could tear it down, or, because I know it has asbestos or something in there. And, but it is an eyesore, and one of the other things I'm worried about is if that's a condemned building right by elementary school. But I just like with city staff to work with Colton Joint Unified to see what, resolution we could come up with that building.
Okay, so you want this item to come back to discuss directing staff to work with Colton Joint Unified School District?
Correct.
All right. City staff, is this a code enforcement item that needs direction?
It is not a code enforcement issue at this point in time. I did reach out to the superintendent to ask what are they doing with the building, and so they do have security that they monitor it. But he did say that what they would be doing is they would be checking inside to see if there's any vagrants or anything else. But I did check with the superintendent just this week.
So they have no plans to do anything with it then?
No, and what they said was they commented on, well, we're still waiting for the Lewis Group to come back to us and talk about purchasing the whole school site. So they're still interested in that whole component. So there's a lot more to be done there.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, it seems to me that we have two paths to pursue. Right now, it's more than an eyesore. It's actually a hazard, which I think we all know. After having spent a lot of time in that building, know what it is. So that avenue could be pursued so far as demolish it. We would not let a private entity sit on a situation like this any more than we would a public agency.
Okay, so are you seconding this to come back to have a future discussion, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for this item to come back to the council for future discussion.
Yes, and one of the other options might be to have the fire department burn it down.
Thank you.
Training exercise.
Can you call the vote for this, please?
Councilmember Allen?
Yes, but not to burn it down.
And Councilmember Hussey?
Yes.
And Councilmember Robles?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson?
Of course,
And
yes.
Mayor McNabo?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. So we'll have council communications beginning with Councilmember Jeff Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to thank all the veterans in our community and to remind about tomorrow being Veterans Day. And I know we don't have the Freedom Park Memorial is not going to be formally open, but I'm going to walk by there and pay my respects. And so if I see you over there, I'll say hey and hua, unless you're a Marine, and then I'll say rah. But that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Bill Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to wish all my fellow Marines a happy birthday. 245 years old today. We were established 1 month after the Navy was established in the United States in a bar called Tun Tavern. But it's a pretty big celebration for us Marines, and so happy birthday, Marines. Also, Veterans Day, you know, happy birthday, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Veterans Day, Councilmember Allen, for tomorrow. And, you know, for my fellow veterans, you know, thank you for your service, and especially, you know, the spouses and the children too, you know, that are veterans' families, you know, thank you for all the sacrifices you guys do. And one last thing on a side note, I just want to thank the residents of Grand Terrace. I'm humbled and honored by your support and your votes. So anyway, happy Veterans Day tomorrow, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussey. Councilmember Sylvia Robles.
Yes, I just want to take this opportunity today to thank the veterans for your service. I deeply appreciate it, and I appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Robles. Mayor Pro Tem Doug Wilson.
I should unmute. Thank you, my fellow colleagues, for a successful election. Appreciate all the effort that you put into to seek votes, and I'm glad that the public demonstrated their confidence in you. And I'd also like to thank those who did not get elected for trying, and wish us a much better year in this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to start with a couple of the things from Omnitrans and SB COG. Omnitrans is authorizing the city manager, or the CEO general manager, to award funds for the call for projects that they put out for 2020 Measurized Specialized Transportation Program for fiscal years 2022 and 2023. 6 projects were to be awarded, including $128,080 for Grand Terrace Senior Transportation Program. I'm not sure if staff has been made aware of that, but that was pretty exciting to vote on. And then also we got an update on the service resumption. So the average weekday ridership levels have been flat since June of 2020. They've been fluctuating between approximately 12,000 and 13,000 average weekday riders. And as a result, over this period, ridership has been down approximately 60%. However, ridership levels during normal years rise in September and October. And generally, those increases, of course, were driven by the high school and college student riders, but that has not been the case this year. So they are still looking at resuming their service, and when they do, it will go to the projected reduction levels, but right now the level of service is below the cuts that they were originally going to make. So we continue to get updates on that, and ridership has just not come back yet. And so then San Bernardino County Transportation Authority actually convenes as the Council of Governments, and we received an update on a optimizing emergency medical dispatch plan, and we awarded a sole source contract for this emergency communication nurse system. So what this involves, there's an ad hoc stakeholder group consisting of leaders from EMS, 911, fire authority, or EMS authority, and transport providers, hospitals, clinics, healthcare insurance providers, all throughout the county of San Bernardino. They're working to change the way 911 calls are handled. And so as it is right now, if you call 911 and have an emergency and want somebody to respond because you've injured yourself, they will roll a fire engine and an ambulance. And it very well could be that that's not needed for whatever the issue is. But there's no way that they can make that judgment call. So 100% of the time, they roll the fire engine and they roll the ambulance. And then that person is generally transported to the emergency room unless for some reason they absolutely say they don't want to go. And if they don't, then that's been a waste of those resources because they now are slower to respond somewhere else. With this new system, they will have a dispatch that will have a nurse triage component, which will allow for the opportunity to determine whether that ambulance needs to be dispatched or whether maybe they're going to send another method of transportation to an urgent care instead, or maybe arrange for them to have a doctor's appointment at the next available time. So all the components of it are pretty intricate, but it was a really interesting way to look at approaching our 911 system and really doing a service that makes more sense and is more cost effective. And will then actually free up our emergency first responders for those critical times that they need. So we did vote to approve that sole source contract and move forward with that. And so further, happy birthday to the Marine Corps. And happy Veterans Day to all the veterans who served and are serving now. Thank you very much for protecting the freedom that is so dear to us. And that will conclude my report. City Manager, do you have communications?
Mayor, I do not. Other than I just wanted to let the council know that the latest results of voting is 73% turnout for the city of Grand Terrace. That's a phenomenal number.
It really is.
Those are my comments, Mayor.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So with that, we will recess to closed session. We have 3 items tonight. The first one is a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives, G. Harold Duffy, City Manager, Cynthia Fortune, Assistant City Manager, Adrian Guerra, City Attorney, Colin Tanner, Deputy City Attorney, and employee organization is Teamsters Local 1932. Second item is conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Property to be discussed is 22325 Barton Road, APN 1167-311-02-0000. City negotiator G. Harold Duffy, City Manager. Negotiating parties, RPB, Grand Terrace, RE LLC. Under negotiation, price and terms of payment. Conference with real property negotiators for item number 3. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, properties, there are 4 of them, APN 1167-151-22-0000, APN 1167-151-68-0000, APN 1167-151-71-0000, and APN 1167-151-74-0000. City negotiator G. Harold Duffy, City Manager. Negotiating parties Lewis Land Developers LLC. Under negotiation, price and terms of payment. So if you are not with us when we return, our next regular City Council meeting will be held Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And we hope to see you there. At this time, we are in recess to close session. At this time, we'll reconvene to open session. Council met in closed session for 3 items. Item number 1, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives G. Harold Duffy, City Manager, Cynthia Fortune, Assistant City Manager, Adrian Guerra, City Attorney, Colin Tanner, Deputy City Attorney, and employee organization Teamsters Local 1932. No reportable actions. Item number 2, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, property 22325 Barton Road, APN 1167-311-02-0000. City negotiator G. Harold Duffy, city manager. Negotiating parties RPB Grand Terrace RE LLC, under negotiation, price and terms of payment. No reportable actions, but we did give direction to staff. And item number 3, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Properties, there are 4 of them, APN 1167-151-22-0000, 1167-151-68-0000, 1167-151-71-0000, and 1167-151-74-0000. City negotiator G. Harold Duffy, city manager. Negotiating parties Lewis Land Developers LLC, under negotiation, price and terms of payment. Again, no reportable actions, but direction was given to staff. So at this time, we will adjourn to our next regular city council meeting, which will be held Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Any request to have an item placed on future agenda must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk's office, and the request will be processed in accordance with council procedures. And that's it. So, happy Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you again to all of our veterans who did serve and are serving, and have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you in December. We're adjourned.